Hi, welcome to my shipping room. Sorry for the mess. If you follow me on Instagram, then you know why I'm here today. If you don't worry, I'm going to explain. But yesterday on Instagram, I mentioned that I was starting a project and I wanted to allow you to come along with me, follow along, um, join the excitement, so to speak. So I'm going to announce what that is here today so that everyone knows what that is so that you can join if you want to and not if you want to. I'm going to be sharing here on YouTube so that I can give more detailed information and videos, but I'm also going to be sharing on Instagram. So if you already follow me there, you can catch some of that stuff there too, but it will be more detailed here just because I have more time allowed to share, whereas Instagram kind of cuts you off. So if you don't know me, I'm Brandy. I am a doctoral trained nutritionist who is working on a dissertation in my PhD program on the Mediterranean diet, which is something that I'm very passionate about, something that I know makes a huge difference in people's lives. And because I'm doing my dissertation on the Mediterranean diet and how it affects autoimmune disease and chronic illness, we'll spend probably the next 2 years of my life deep diving into the Mediterranean diet and all that it provides, which is something that I already kind of do, but will be living that lifestyle and learning as much as I can. And luckily, I have already met so many amazing people who have already done so much amazing research in that area. Also digging into anthropological nutrition related to that as well, which if you don't know what that is, it's basically the evolution of the human diet, but specifically around the Mediterranean diet. So super excited about that. It probably leaves you more confused than clear on what exactly my project is. But real quick, if you don't know who I am, that's a little bit about me. I'm also the founder of Cesira Olio di Oliva, which is my extra virgin olive oil company. While we call it an extra virgin olive oil company, it really has grown and evolved into what I like to call an olive tree company, because we have so much more than our extra virgin olive oil, which is why you're here in my shipping room, because I have lots of shipments and things going out. So busy in this room. We also have balsamic vinegar from our partners in Italy. We have our couple of different extra virgin olive oils from our partners in the Chianti Valley in Tuscany. And we also have olive leaf tea, so many different things. That's why I say we kind of are an olive tree company as opposed to an extra virgin olive oil company these days, but super excited about it, very passionate about olive trees in general. They are probably one of the most nutritious trees on the planet just because of all of the different things that we can gain from them and things that they can do for us. And as you know or may not know, olives, olive oil, everything olive tree is such a huge component of the Mediterranean diet. It's actually one of the biggest things that they consume on a daily, regular basis is extra virgin olive oil. And there's a really great reason for that. And so I'll probably do a video just on extra virgin olive oil since we're talking about Mediterranean diet and how healthy it is and all the amazing things that you can do with it. This particular bottle, our Select Reserve, is from our partners in the Chianti Valley in Tuscany. We know exactly the land that these trees are grown on. These are hand-picked, cold-pressed. We know when it's harvested. I know every ounce of information about this. They're very close friends of mine, just like family. So I'm very passionate about this. But this is actually our International Gold Award-winning olive oil, which means it is on the list of one of the best olive oils in the world right now. So love that. But that also gives you a little bit of insight again on why and how I'm so passionate about the Mediterranean diet. So again, why are we here today? I digress on that. So why we're here today is because over all of my research of the Mediterranean diet and all of the things and wonderful things that it does, I've learned so much about the different cultures, the people, the history, the diet in itself, which I hate to call it a diet because really it's a true lifestyle and culture. 21 countries border the Mediterranean. So when we talk about the Mediterranean culture or lifestyle, we have to incorporate every single one of those countries because that really doesn't sorry, I can't talk. It really does culminate from all of those areas. And so we can't just say, as much as, you know, I love Italy, clearly I have partners and a strong connection there with my olive oil company. and it is a huge part of the Mediterranean diet. There's so many other countries that have evolved and grown and traded and been such a part of that. So we really have to consider them all, which I think is amazing and so fascinating. But in all of that research and talking to different people and looking at different recipes and studying different cultures, traditions, trading, all these different things that have culminated in the Mediterranean diet, which, by the way, the Mediterranean diet is the only diet in the world that has a UNESCO designation. What that means is, if you've ever heard of a UNESCO site, such as, the Colosseum in Rome has a UNESCO designation, meaning it's protected historical site. The same thing has happened for the Mediterranean diet. It is UNESCO protected. It has the UNESCO designation because it is seen to be such a cultural and traditional significant diet with so many amazing benefits and things that they have decided to give it a designation to protect it within its traditions and its beauty forever. And I think that's so amazing because no other diet in the world has ever been given any of that type of designation. So super amazing. But again, I could talk about this forever. So what is my project, you ask? In all of my studies, I came across Elizabeth David. Elizabeth David was a amazing person in her time. She has passed. She passed in the 1990s. And she was kind of the Julia Child of the Mediterranean diet, so to speak. She did so much more than that. That's really kind of limiting her, what she's done. But really, to kind of explain what I'm doing, she really was the Julia Child of the Mediterranean diet. She spent a lot of years living in different areas of the Mediterranean, studying, cooking, learning the traditions, the styles, so many different things. And she wrote all these amazing, beautiful, delicious recipes in the 1940s, prior to the Second World War. And after the Second World War, a publisher actually came to her and was able to publish some of her recipes and things. And she's published several books since then. The beauty of that is not only is she an amazing pioneer in the Mediterranean diet and sharing all of that she knew as an English woman who had lived so many years in different areas of the Mediterranean, she also did this during a time when our food culture and our food abundance was so very different. Like, our food industry, especially here in the United States, but really all over the world, changed so much during and after the Second World War. And she really was able to encapsulate all of that prior to that happening. And she really struggled when her first book was published, because it happened right after the Second World War, when people were given food rations. There wasn't a lot of food going around. People were really limited on what they could buy. Their rations were very limited on just a few items a week that they were able to purchase with their tickets. And food was just a very tough thing to deal with post-World War. And so this book was published at a time when people thought, where am I ever going to get these ingredients? There's no food to be had. And here we are in a world of abundance. So anyway, her recipes, the things I love about her is not only was she an amazing proponent of the Mediterranean diet, she saw something amazing in the traditions and the food about it, enough to create these recipes and to share them and want to bring that into her own life. But she also was brave enough to do that at a time when it wasn't necessarily the best timing in the world to talk about food and to try and get people to cook amazing cuisine. So she really just felt that passionate about it. And she's won tons of awards. Again, she's basically the Julia Child of the Mediterranean. And so what I'm doing, my project is, I've purchased one of the books. This is actually a collection of recipes from several of her books. It's at Elizabeth David's table. So this is a culmination of several of her book recipes together into kind of one book. Her original books, printed in 1950, are very difficult to find. I do fully plan to scour every thrift bookstore I can find in the world and try and find original copies. There have been several revisions over the decades, but to get my hands on the ones from like the 1950s would be fantastic. Project for another day. But so anyway, so I've purchased this book. I've looked through a lot of the recipes, and my project, what I'm going to do is I am actually going to try and make every single recipe in this book. Every single one of them. I am going to create what Elizabeth David created. I am going to make them here. I'm going to source all of the ingredients the best ways that I can. I already import things, clearly. I import my olive oil for my business, so I'm very keen on how to import things. I already import flour from Italy because as someone who is actually gluten intolerant, I can tolerate the flour in Italy, so I already import that in my normal daily cooking. But what I'm going to do for all of you is I'm going to cook every recipe in this book over a period of time. Clearly, it's not happening in one day. There is an enormous amount of recipes in this book. I am going to cook everything in this book over a period of time. I'm going to share it with you. I am going to share pictures of what the recipe came out like. I'm going to share struggles I had. So whether it was sourcing an ingredient, whether it was I just failed at cooking because I am not a chef. And even more than that, I'm really not a great cook, to be honest. Although I do enjoy it and I do find it relaxing at times. And there are definitely some recipes in here that have foods that I don't actually like. I don't enjoy, I love fish, but I don't enjoy a full fish cooked, if you know what I mean, like eyeballs and everything. I don't really enjoy that. But I'm gonna make it because it's in here, and Elizabeth David found it to be delicious and a part of the culture and tradition. And so I'm going to make it, and I'm going to eat it, and I'm going to share that. So, and I might be surprised. I may find that I actually very much enjoy and love that. But I will also share if there were ingredients that were difficult for me to find. I'm going to share where I was able to find those and all of that information. And then I really encourage anyone who's interested in the Mediterranean lifestyle, the traditions, the cooking, to look up Elizabeth David, find any of her cookbooks that are out there, the ones that have combined all of her ingredients and recipes together. If you find her original ones, power to you, that's amazing. If you find the revised copies, some of them are on Amazon, you can find them there. But really, she did such amazing things with this, and she makes it so simple. She even said herself she wanted to make sure that the average housewife was able to easily create these meals to be delicious and healthy for their families, even after a busy day. So they're not super difficult in that sense, where she wanted to make sure that they were delicious and amazing. And the beautiful thing about the Mediterranean diet and tradition that I've learned in traveling to Italy, talking to my business partners, learning about the Mediterranean diet, and really gathering as much research and information as I can, is that simplicity of ingredients is a huge part of the Mediterranean diet. Most of the most amazing dishes that I've ever eaten in the Mediterranean area were like 3 or 4 ingredients thrown together into like the most amazing dish that you could possibly imagine. So I could see why she would say that it's easy enough to whip together on a busy weekday. So really excited to do that. I'm going to start embarking on this, going to put together a couple of meal plans, picking a few of the different recipes on which nights I want to make them and what I want to cook together at the same time, get some grocery shopping done, and start sharing these with you. And the progress on how we're doing getting through the book, because as you can see, there are lots of recipes in here. There's lots of stories in here too about Elizabeth David. A lot of her writing pieces are in here as well to share that. So this is not all completely recipes. There are a lot of great information and stories in here too, but there are a lot of recipes in here to get through. So excited to share that and learn the simplicity of being able to cook such decadent, amazing recipes and share them with you all. The amazing thing about the Mediterranean diet, and the reason why I suggest it so often to my own clients and health coaching clients and people who just come along and ask me about dietary questions or suggestions, is I'm not a fan of diets. And I will tell people diets are all just a fad. Diets are a way to get you to buy into something, follow a plan. They never work because they're very restrictive. And people usually will do them for a month, maybe even a year. Some of you are very dedicated. but it's not sustainable over time. And then you end up leaving it and deciding that it's not the right thing for you. And so the beauty about the Mediterranean culture and traditions is it's really not a diet. It really is so full of amazing ingredients, simplicity, deliciousness. You never get bored of the food. Everything that you eat is just so good and amazing. I mean, you can go from pastas to a fish dish to some type of a meat dish or a meat pasta. I mean, there's so many amazing things that you really never get bored. And the other thing that's important to note about the Mediterranean lifestyle and tradition is typically they only eat meat once or twice a week. Like it's not something that's eaten a lot. And even in some cultures around the Mediterranean, they only eat meat products during festivals or celebrations or something like that. Otherwise, it's fish, the occasional chicken, and usually it's just plant-based. It's pasta, it's salads, it's vegetables, it's lots and lots and lots of olive oil. And when I tell you guys they eat olive oil, like I'm not kidding. It's like cups of olive oil per person per day. And I can give you those statistics, but you probably don't care. But that's the truth about it, is it's very high in fat, very, very high in healthy fats like omega-3s. And so really so easy to follow because the recipes aren't difficult and the ingredients are delicious. I will say though, you can't drive through a fast food drive-through and get Mediterranean food. That's just not the food. And going into a restaurant, it can be very easy to follow Mediterranean traditions as long as you know what to ask for and what to look for, and you know which ingredients are not the best for you, which are ingredients you really should be avoiding anyway. So it's not really that hard. So it's not like it takes a lot of effort to switch from whatever it is you're doing now to being able to follow a very healthy Mediterranean style diet. And the nice thing is, not only has it been designated a UNESCO designation, meaning that it is an amazing traditional and cultural thing to be protected, but the studies and the information that has come out of the Mediterranean diet and lifestyle is mind-boggling when it talks about the lack of chronic illness, the lack of autoimmune disease, the longevity in people. I can tell you, I was in Italy with family in November for 2 weeks, just this past November. And we were visiting business partners, helping with harvest, doing things like that. But we went on many, many hikes just to immerse ourselves in the culture and with the people as much as possible. And I can't tell you how many elderly people, and I mean some of them well into their 90s, who were hiking up vertical staircases, unassisted, alone, not winded, having no trouble whatsoever, carrying groceries sometimes, carrying other things, walking dogs. Like there was the longevity in this type of environment and lifestyle, and just overall sense of community and well-being and love of the planet and love of their culture and love of just everything. Just the most warm people is just amazing. And as much as me, as you know, a naive American woman, let's be real, wanted to help these people. You know, one time we walked past an elderly man, easily mid-90s, easily, not winded, climbing stairs. And so badly, I wanted to help him. I wanted to offer him help. I wanted to hold his hand. I wanted to do something. And the reality is he was doing better than I was. I was winded going up these stairs, and he was, you know, storming past us like he could run a marathon in half a second and have no concern in the world. And so as much as I felt like I wanted to help him, he probably honestly should have helped me, but but I digress on that. It's just such a fantastic, amazing thing. I'm very happy to be able to be fully immersed in this in the next 2 years, to be able to write this, to do this research properly, to meet and talk to people, to do questionnaires and interviews and all the things that will culminate from having to do this dissertation on the Mediterranean lifestyle. But just the amount of people that I get to learn and talk to, so very excited about. So I feel like the least I can do is bring a little bit of tradition, a little bit of knowledge, and teach a little bit about all the amazing things Elizabeth David did. As a non-Mediterranean native herself, again, she was an English woman who grew up in England, and but moved to the Mediterranean and just fell in love with it and lived there for such a long time, and really was able to see how spectacular it is. So to be able to honor her in that way, to share these recipes with people who may have never heard of her before, who may not know the amazing things that she's done, and who may not know how fantastic the Mediterranean diet is. I'm really excited to be able to try these and learn them and share them. And I will give a little bit of a warning. My food photography is not on point. So I will work on that, but bear with me as I share pictures of my food. Hopefully from beginning to end, by the time I'm finished doing all the recipes in this book, they'll be beautiful. But just know, I'll be completely honest. If a recipe was difficult, I'm going to tell you if it's difficult. If there was something that I just could not find online in grocery stores, through any of my sources, I'll let you know, like this was difficult to find and this is what I used instead. And I'll share all of that, because I think, before you go on an adventure of cooking every single recipe in a cookbook, it's good to know the good, the bad, and the ugly. And honestly, I have nothing but full faith that her recipes are going to be easy, easy to follow, beautiful, and delicious. And so I'm super excited to share them with you. And here we go, off on the journey. Thanks, and I hope you enjoy them, and I hope you enjoy the recipes and just learning more about the Mediterranean along the way.